Duperas y Duperas. Today on Dupe by the River, Philadelphia. You're going to be a host city in 2026. We're going to give our thoughts on the World Cup bid for Philadelphia. We're going to look back at Saturday night's match against FC Cincinnati. The Padawan learner gave a trick or two to the Jedi Master. And geez, we're going to talk about that. And of course, we're going to look at it this upcoming Sunday. What a matchup. Union versus NYCFC. Rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals. And ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to go anywhere. You do not want to miss this episode of Dupe by the River. Let's get it started, guys. Done.
Dupe by the River
doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli. And that is right. Welcome, everyone, to Dupe by the River, the show where we follow everything Philadelphia Union. Of course, we are brought to you by Philly Sports Network. Before we dive into today's episode, real quick, I want to thank you guys for tuning on in. Do us a solid by hitting the like button. We record live every week here on Parcero Philly's YouTube channel. And, of course, you can find us where we stream podcasts. Find us under Dupe by the River Podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe as well to never miss on an episode. But, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you today, my co-host in duping. Please welcome Justin Reserve, River End Keeper Friedberg, with the new setup at the crib. What's up, Justin? How you feeling, man?
Pretty good. As an early birthday gift, from my mother, because despite being an adult with my own place and that stuff, you're never not your mother's baby. And so I got a little hook to hang a few of my scarves up. You can see the FC Tokyo one, the American Outlaws, the Chicago Red Stars, the Minnesota one is here, and AS Roma. My parents were in Italy a few weeks back because they picked me up a scarf. So this place is a little more soccer-fied, if you will.
I like it, man. And then happy birthday to Mama Friedberg. It was her birthday this week. So we want to give our big happy birthday to her. And thank you for Justin as well.
Thank you. She loved all the wishes. It was kind of a it's a birthday week for her, now that she's retired.
Justin, always. It's a birthday week. None of this birthday day. It's a birthday week. So do you.
Come on, it's a birthday weekend for me. It's you gotta max out the celebration time.
Amen, brother. Well, speaking of celebration, man, can we just real quick get this U.S. Open Cup update? Because, dude, this is better than March Madness. I'm not kidding. Like, you got the Sacramento Republic stuff was beautiful. Winning in dignity. Give it to us, because you are our Open Cup correspondent here, man. So give it to us.
Yeah, listen, I was hoping. I mean, Sporting Casey had to fucking kill the vibes of an all USL semifinal by thumping Union Omaha 3-0. The Cinderella run came to an end. The Sacramento Republic. I mean, of all the teams, like, talk about winding up with a perfect matchup, because LA is like, I don't know. They're one of those teams that, like, they really I don't feel like they should have progressed this far, and they were kind of on their own little run. And Sporting KC, I think at this point, this might be the only anywhere close to a trophy they're going to win, because they're sitting in the the basement of the Western Conference. So, they might be throwing all their eggs in this basket. And Red Bull, I mean, I think Red Bull winning was better than seeing NYCFC win. That game was a bit of ugly slugfest, and there's still one more game. For some reason, the Nashville-Orlando game's not till next week. I don't know why that one of all the others was pushed back a bit. But, the Open Cup, man, it's like I said, it's a shame the Union, bowed out when they did, but I think, it didn't help the timing of the game. But, hey, I mean, the Open Cup magic, there's a reason that it's just bonkers, and I think that's what everyone loves about it. It's the magic of it, the runs, all the moments. It's its own animal, and I think that's what it's cup time. That's what everyone loves.
It's not madness. It's a jubilation, man. I truly believe in that. It's a lot of fun watching this for sure, man. Kata checking on in, man. He wants our owner to come to Philly. Now that's a topic for a different podcast, but we would love it, man. We would. Maybe Jim can get the direct line, like, yo, KD, come on, man, come to Philly. You know you want to be here.
Or be like, hey, KD, can you convince some attacking players to come as Jim kind of alluded to. We'll talk about it as Jim kind of alluded to after last game.
Absolutely. And before we dive into what we got to talk about today, how about the boys with the U19s, bro? Oh my God, dude. These kids are unfreaking real. The Jack McGlynn goal, like I'm just absolutely.
I mean, they needed, like, they thumped St. Kitts 10-0. They tied Canada 2-2.
The poor Guanos, man.
Yeah, and then they needed a result against Cuba, which you figured was going to happen. And, Quinn, which I do love, though, that people are already like, oh, Quinn should be starting. It's like,
dude, oh my God, I saw it too.
It's like, okay, as much as I love our boys balling out at the U20s, like, it's Cuba, come on. Although, have you seen, at least it's the running joke around soccer Twitter, now RSL player, former El Paso Locomotive player, Diego Luna.
Oh my God, yeah.
20s. It reminded me of the scene from the Benchwarmers where the guy goes, I am 12. Because you look at that guy, you look at like all the players, it's like, okay, under 20, under 20, 20. You're like,
nah, I don't know, man.
But hey, the funny thing is, like, you look at the U20s, this isn't even the A roster. Like, the Ricardo Pepis, a lot of the young kids that would be in here are not available. So you're forgetting that, like, the B squad is like, okay, it's all the MLS Academy kids. Well, the MLS is really producing some insane talent. So, and people are like, oh, how many union players are on this team? Like 4. And all 4 are playing. And I'm like, and the funny thing is, like, I tell people, like, what do you know about Brendan Craig? I'm like, well, not much, because he's not, like, as good as he is, he's not going to displace Jack or Jakob. And, Paxton and Quinn and Jack all come in, in rotational minutes right now. And it's like, we know these kids can ball. It's just like one of the things that, like, you're still gonna get them sold. And you still know these kids have a ton of talent. It's just like, it's a matter of time. But man, making. I'm sure Ernst is expanding that.
Dude.
Adding a few zeros to the end of a certain number.
Dude, he's got to be getting some calls, man. He's got to be getting.
Listen, with the way things are going, I think he's got to be like, hey, if I sell this guy, what kind of player can I get in return?
Yeah, man. It's funny you mentioned about the point with the fans, because, like, I already saw guys saying, like, why isn't Jack McGlynn starting, like, with that cracking goal? Like, I would love for Jack McGlynn to start, but here's the problem: we need Jack to play some defense as well. We have one dude, obviously Leon. We love him. He doesn't really contribute too much on the attack, especially in the final third. And then you got Jack McGlynn, who obviously, dude, he's wicked with that left foot, but when you need the dude to come back and play some defense, these guys are just blowing right by him.
Exactly. So it's like it's like in midfield. It's like, what do you put in? Like McGlynn, take Bedoya out. Like, if you're changing Leon for, like, maybe a potential signing, it's like it's that midfield. It's just so tough to slot some of these players in. I mean, I think unless you do a formation change, or you're just, deciding just to go, and change out some of the, the squad players, because, like, something's got to change with this point. But
it's for sure. But to Mike's point, that's a really good point. I do believe his brother has been trialing with Dortmund, if I saw correctly.
Yeah. Although I still think I think Jack might be the first one to. It's going to be a close. Like, I feel like Jack might.
Yeah, man. It's like straw at this because all three have the talent to go over there. And all of them are raw. That's the thing. But they obviously there's potential. And by the third, I'm sorry, I meant by Paxton Aaronson as well, who's had a couple assists as well, from my understanding, with this team. But to your point with Brandon Craig, it's so tough. You got obviously Glazes and Ellie, probably the best center back pairing in MLS. Then you got Stuart Finley, who is a really good vet in his own right. So then Brandon's over here just like trying to soak everything like a sponge, but you obviously need to play. And thank God for you two this season, because at least these kids can get some minutes here.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing. Like, I think people don't realize how vital. Okay, yes, playing time helps, but learning from these kind of veterans, especially as good of a tandem, and from my understanding, like Jack and when Mark came onto the team, Jack was it helped instruct him and helped. So these veterans are helping the homegrowns, the rookies, the young kids really learn. It's like, as much as we joke of the signing, Giorgio Chiellini going to LAFC, you don't think that's going to help Mamadou Fall and his rise, and the fact that he's easily one of the next big exports that the LAFC is going to have, and having a guy like Chiellini, which is as slow now as he might be, he still has the absolute soccer IQ to be able to put a guy like that under his tutelage. I think it's the same way with Brandon Craig, and like it's a thing that you got to look at it from different perspectives of how to really establish a young player's progression, because with you too, I think that is helping him, to not be rusty, not be kind of, building rusting on the bench, but he is getting the learning, and you might still be able to sell players like that where they might have this reserve experience and may not the pro, but like look at like a Jack DeVries. I mean, you sold him for a decent amount. He didn't have like any pro experience on the first team level. So it's one of those things that there are multiple paths to the progression of a professional player these days.
Yes, sir.
And I think U2 and MLS Next Pro are really a new avenue for players to get sold on that might have a tougher time cracking, even if they are absolutely insanely talented, because their path is being blocked by also insanely talented players.
This is very true. Very true. And thank God for that. And obviously, as Mike's saying here, how do we watch these? Can we watch them online? Right?
You can watch them, I believe, on the Union site.
I really need to put them on the side screen or something, because I do want to watch
site. But Mike is right though. I went to the first game of the season against FC Cincinnati, and it is a fun time. Like it's you get the chance to first, sitting behind the bench, you're sitting pretty dang close to the kids. It's weird. You're just like, man, these these kids are so young. You're just like, you're looking going like, man, what was I doing with myself at that at that age? But like, I got to see, Chris Donovan's playing, and I saw him like, okay, that kid could potentially break through.
Hold out hope
that Carlos Paternina, is a good attacking mid player, can come through. Like, there are players there that I think could have the chance to break through in the next few years, and you get to see, them from the ground up. I think that's it. Plus, it's an easy. I think it's a family friendly experience, especially if you might not be able to get them out on a Saturday night. But hey, early Sunday afternoon, it's not bad to drive down to Chester to watch the game.
Absolutely not, man. It's a great and look, you're watching the future, and I think that's like the best part about it. You're watching the kids as they grow up. So, but speaking of which, obviously Justin just mentioned FC Cincinnati. That was our opponent this past weekend, so we're going to talk about this match for the next 15 before we get our special guests on here. Look, not the result that we all anticipated, and it does feel a little bit like a gut wrench because we had expectations coming off of the break 3 weeks. Jim's telling us he's got a different approach to the attack. He's seeing things differently, and unfortunately, they come out great start, but again, like just a lack of that spark in that final third. And so when you're looking at the lineup, pretty much we got the first choice starting 11. So that was really good to finally see these guys get acclimated. And then this match really, FC Cincinnati had some opportunity. He even had a Ray Gaddis shot from outside early on in this match. And then in the 17th minute, you had Julian Carranza with a great job of winning a ball from Blackett, and then he finds Alejandro Bedoya at the top of the box, and he just does a great little sidestep and just rips a curler. And Ali with some vintage play there and gets the early 1-0 goal for the Philadelphia Union. And then it was just a matter of FC Cincinnati just winning the ball on that mid block, creating the Union would turn the ball over in the FC Cincinnati end, or in their own end. I'm sorry, go on the counterattack. And they're trying to get the ball through, and they just could not find those avenues. And Cincinnati did a great job with trying to block those off. And then in that second half, in the end of that second half, close to it, 39th minute, Brandon Vasquez off of a corner gets a ball that kind of squirts through in a great misdirection. He's had a couple goals like that throughout this year, and the Union had some opportunities in the second half, but unfortunately, they just didn't have enough to get another goal, and that's what we were left with. A point. And for Cincinnati, they walk out of the Sub with feeling like they got an absolute dub here. So, Justin, man, look, we expected this attack to kind of start getting their bearings down, but I will say I was thoroughly impressed with FC Cincinnati, and more importantly, Pat Noonan. I thought the lineup was really great for what he decided to do, and I thought he had a really good game plan against Philly. What did you see on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think this is the thing, and I think people had this misconception that we were gonna walk over FC Cincinnati, and I kept saying in our preview that this is a very different FC Cincinnati team. This is a team, that has a lot of solidity, and Pat Noonan has brought, what he brought to Philly. And yeah, Mike's right. It's not a bad tie. The defense was set up, very well. I mean, it was, but the player, like I said, it was a broken play on the goal. Brandon Vasquez squeaks in the back post. It just barely onside. Like it was one of those big, boom plays. But the player that I think in the first half, because the Union had chances in the second half, the player that really in the first half, and this is a low-key signing, was, and I'm gonna butcher this, Obina Wabodo. He's the player that came in about a few months ago, I believe, and wow, I mean, he was. I'm sure Harris Medunian loves having a player like that because he doesn't have to run. I mean, not that he was going to run in the first place, but I mean, this player, you just saw him. He was doing what El Brujo does for the Union. He's breaking up those plays. He's creating havoc. He's, winning those challenges, drawing, creating fouls in, places like, okay, it's not a horrible foul, but like that he was doing everything that El Brujo does for the Union.
And I will say this, he had a really nice touch on his ball, man, especially those longer balls.
Exactly. Like he was doing everything. And yeah, this is a very, very different FC Cincinnati team. People still have this mindset of, oh, they're crap. Pat Noonan has absolutely put his staple on this team. They could easily right now squeak into the 6-7 spot in the playoffs. I could absolutely see that. And you know what? I think the first half, the Union had some solid chances. The second half, I'm sorry, and I've seen this before. Corey Burke is frustrating the fuck out of me for every reason. He had at least 3 or 4 opportunities where he could have taken the shot with his right foot and at least created a chance, a rebound, or anything. He'd instead cut it to his left, and the play would die. He'd either take a bad touch, or he'd dribble into someone, or he'd pass behind someone. It the amount, like I looked at Tim and I just kept saying, Chris Donovan, obviously he hasn't played anything, but why not throw the kid on with 15 minutes to go? And Jim waits this time a little too long to. And I'm not saying he would have absolutely changed the game. He's a kid who just signed his pro contract, but Corey Burke, like, I'm wondering if and Jim said after the game, they're missing that one spark, that one player. And listen, I don't think it's not your front three's fault. Your starting front three, because I think Ua and Carranza were creating havoc, we're creating trouble. Gazdag was doing what he does best. Like I said, it's the rest of the midfield. Like, I love Ali and I love Leon, but and Ali with a great goal reminded me of the one he scored against Montreal. But
banger.
Do you wonder if, like, the signing, people talk about, you need striker signing. Maybe a striker signing would be great. But the kind of signing that I'm interested in is a kind of an 8-10 hybrid. Not someone who is an attacking mid per se, but could slot into there if they needed to. But someone who has a lot more going forward and has the ability
another Miro, but without the razzle dazzle that he
was
trying.
I think with the passing range, I think with something something like that, where, like, I don't miss Miro dribbling into three people and
that's what I mean.
With it, but like that type of a player, because at the end of the day, you're not getting. I don't know at this point. I am not 100% sure what we're going to be seeing from Leon going forward. What you get from Ali. He's going to have selective runs. It's not going to be the same as it has been in the past. Brujo is not going to do anything offensively. He's just there to clean stuff up and try to, swing the attack the other way. So, like, at this point, I think Ernst has got to look at this, at this summer window and go, we need some midfield. We need some midfield depth, and maybe some striker depth. I look at things, I look around the league and go, there's players that we could have traded for that would be at least good depth options. And I love Corey, but he is just starting to really get on my nerves with the amount of chances he ends up, like, flubbing. Like, just take the shot with your right foot. Yeah. I don't care if it goes just past the post. Just take a shot. He had several chances. He had the space to shoot, and he chose not to. And I have no problem with being unselfish, but if you're in the opportunity, take the shot. You're the striker. Take a shot.
Not right. I mean, obviously. I'll say this, like, depth was a key factor in this match. It was one of my takeaways in this match. Like, when you look at what FC Cincinnati was able to bring out in the second half compared to what the Union were, Dominic Baggi, Luciano Costa, they also brought in Alan Cruz as well. I mean, that was pretty quality right there compared to what the Union did. Matt Real, Chris Donovan, and Corey Burke. Now, that's no disrespect on those guys, but I mean, like, let's face it, like, Cincinnati had a better deck of cards in their back pocket than what the Union did. And you really bring up some good points. My take on Corey is this. He struggles when it comes to tight spaces. When you see him receiving a ball in the final third, he just kind of panics. And if he's got guys crowding him, like, he really doesn't know what to do. What he's really good is at counterattacking. When he's got to use his speed, you get a full steam ahead, and that's really when he's at his best with some space. But when he's in those tight spaces in the final third, he just doesn't know what to do, and that's obviously a bit of a problem. I'm with you. Like, I do think that there is a benefit of having Corey Burke. I mean, obviously he's playing a lot of minutes right now because, as Mike said, you have some conditioning problems. I mean, Michael Lua, he hasn't been able to play a full 90, which, it sucks, but rather get this out of the way now than face this on come playoff time. So this is the right time to be able to do it. But even Carranza I'll agree with Mike. He had a great
that's the thing. And to mention your point about the open space, there were moments that in a couple of those chances, Corey had open space. He had the separation to take the shot. He then decided to cross it over, which is when it then became a tight space. And that's when the play kind of died. So
just panics.
like, what are you gonna like? Carranza, is creating chances from nothing. So it's like, exactly, like our chances, like we don't have a ton of shots, but our shots are higher percentage, and like Gazdag had 2 chances, and now the first one was definitely the more like, oh, he could have put it the way the goalie was coming, like he could have shaped that better. The second one, it was like, okay, I get that one. That one was kind of a tougher pass, but it was like it like what are we like I just like what are we doing? Like to quote Taylor Twellman, what are we doing? We this feels like the same thing, and now it's like, oh man, are the Union in a rut? Like are they becoming predictable? Like I'm still not necessarily the optimist, but like the more like they just need one game to kind of shake it off. And also it was coming back with the international break through weeks, like I give a little more credence to that and be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, you're gonna be a little rusty. The Union are never great coming off of that long of a break, especially mid-season. Like I think once you get into the you start look at that. This kicks off because you have this Sunday, you have Wednesday, you have the following weekend, you have the following Friday. Like you're starting to get into a normal routine of games. They're coming fast, they're coming hard. You just need to get more games in. And I think like you've set yourself up in that the first half of the season, I think, doesn't mean as much. It's the second half of the season that we've seen from the Portlands, the Seattles, so there's a lot of teams that have made second half pushes and then do great into the playoffs. And I think the Union have set themselves up where you're tied for second in the East. You have a game in hand on Red Bull. I don't see any reason why. Like the Union have set themselves up to have a good second half. They just need to figure out whatever the heck's going on right now.
I want to bring this point up because this was a concern of mine from Saturday night. The left side of the attack. You brought up the point of Leon Flock, and we talked about Jack McGlynn earlier as well. Like you have weaknesses with both those guys, but both those guys have some serious strengths. And the way I saw, especially in the first half, the way Ray Gaddis was able to just keep up with Kai Wagner was a little bit worrisome. But also, like when I think about it, Kai in the left side of the attack, how much work he has to do to create that attack, because we know like there isn't that link up between Kai and, like, let's say, remember Brennan in 2019? Brennan played a lot at that left shuttle, and he would also switch between the 10 and the left. Like there was good chemistry between Brennan and Kai. Like they had a great 1-2 punch going through on that side, and Jamiro had some sort of chemistry until the drama that we have the rumors of. But regardless, we won't talk about that. But that's my point. Like to me, my concern on Saturday was that left side of the attack. It has to be better there. And I don't know what Leon has to do. I mean, I remember, what was it, the Nashville match where there was literally no connection on that side, and we saw in the next match how against LAFC how much better it looked. And I think that for Leon, he needs that kick in the ass again as well. And you saw, if you look on Saturday, a lot of the shots came from that right side of the pitch.
And I think that, I mean, we talked about a swift kick in the ass. Well, Mike, I think it is what it is with that. Like the open cut, that's a whole nother conversation. But no, I think you talk about swift kick in the ass. I mean, we saw with Bizo, nothing says us. I mean, he hasn't exactly recovered, but nothing says a quick swift kick in the ass like a benching. Who knows? That might just have to be the option, or maybe you like something's got to change, and you got to wonder what is it. Something has to change. Formation, players. Something has to really shake it up, or it's gonna be a draw season.
Real quick before we wait for our guest here, any thoughts on Chris Donovan? I mean, I know it's like 2 minutes that he was out there, but I mean, anything?
I thought he looked good. I liked. Listen, the kid's got to hustle. I think that's what you're going to get from any of your homegrowns, regardless. I mean, he was hustling. I think being paired out there with Corey, I don't think was going to help him any. I think if he had been out there with Carranza, maybe he would have had someone to kind of work with and run off of. But I mean, from what I saw, that he created he got into the dirty areas and started to, try to get some chances. But with not even 10 minutes, you're not gonna see much in 10 minutes. But I started to see some pieces that, like, okay, I can see why he was signed to a contract at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a little weary about the situation because I obviously don't know much about him, but like I do see like, was he with another club or
No, he was actually
no,
out of
on a
college.
waiver? Okay.
He was out of college and signed to you too.
Okay. I see. I understand now. Yeah. I saw the Drexel kid. He was a Drexel kid, but look, I can tell he's got some pace there. Obviously, we're kind of missing someone who can be clinical in that final third. And I don't know what to expect from a kid that just came out of college and just get straight up. But if Jim sees something in him, I mean, let's be real, it's for a reason. So I'll definitely take his word on it. But the competition would be great. I mean, I definitely think guys like Corey and guys like Sergio could use a little bit of competition behind them, and I think a guy with a chip on his shoulder, and of course a Philly Bull, Paoli zone, it's still Philly territory, right? So we'll definitely take that. Here we go. Thank you. See, this is why we love Mike here, man. Mike is our producer, but we got to pay him in beer. We got to pay him somehow, Justin. But we really appreciate this. Drafted by Columbus, unsigned, U2 signed.
There you go. So Mike's our resident fact checker when I don't have the details off the top of my head.
That is correct, Mike. That was correct.
Search.
So I thought he would be back by Saturday. I heard the reporting throughout the week with the gym presser, but I thought he'd be back by Saturday, but he was not. So
at the very least, then we have another option. So I still think like the front three is going to be the same. I think then realistically you bring Sergio off the bench first instead of Corey.
Absolutely. And like for you personally, like any reason why we don't see more of Jesus Bueno?
I actually have no idea. Like, I mean, he was brought in as insurance if Brujo left, and then all the rumors. I mean, Brujo's still arguably one of the top 5-6 in the league, but all of the rumors went dead. Like, or if there were any, I didn't hear a single thing. It was like him. People were expecting him and Kai at the very least to be gone, if not in the winter, in the summer, and then there's been nothing. So I have no clue. I don't know if they know what's really going on. I think that's why they're kind of keeping, being a little hesitant.
Bueno plays well with you too. I think the reality is the guys ahead of him are just better, and that may be true.
He's on the bench. Like, he is that depth option there. They're just starting Brujo every game. Like, it's Brujo, guys. It's Guy.
But here's my thing. Like, I wish that we would actually give these guys up. Like I said, I said the same thing for Matias Davo. Like, there are certain guys, and I've played with them in my own like sporting life, which is like I need to gloat over. But I'm just saying, like, I've played with dudes who come practice time were just awful, right? They just did not look good. But once the lights turn on, they turn up, and I just think that sometimes you just need to give them that opportunity. Like, we've seen Bueno in like literally like at most 8 minutes in his union career in these year and a half that he's been here now. So just want to see, just a couple minutes. Like, you give Chris Donovan 2 minutes, like just give Bueno 5 minutes. It wouldn't hurt. Try him at the left, try him at the 6, something. I just want to see it. So we'll see what happens. But Justin, dude, I mean, I know I don't have to get you excited when it comes to Union, but Sunday's a pretty big deal, bro. Dude, we got Union Soccer, a little afternoon joint at the Sub against NYCFC. A little bit of we got the rematch, like we got the revenge earlier this year, getting the win at Yankee Stadium. But this time, we're going to do it in front of the fans. So, ladies and gentlemen, to preview today's match, please welcome I love this name. This name is freaking awesome. The Blues Balls Podcast and an NYCFC podcast. Please welcome Mr. Trey Fillmore. Trey, what's going on, man? How you feeling?
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Dude, crystal clear, man.
Beautiful. Oh, thank God. I'm using my wife's computer, and she is Italian. So all the settings and stuff, I'm holding Google Translate up to my computer. It's crazy. But we're good. We're here. We made it. You should have seen the
That's
family.
Awesome, man. What part of Italy?
Napoli.
Oh, Forza Napoli. That's what I
the
like to
name
hear.
of my Wi-Fi.
There you go. I'm surprised it's not like Maradona or something. Maradona 10. Maradona.
We got stuff everywhere.
That's awesome, man. Well, Trey, dude, I really appreciate you coming on in here, man. And Justin, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the third different podcast that we've had on for NYCFC, which I'm proud of us.
I'm
We've this-
third. What is this?
I spilled the beans.
Yeah, I when they're available, we sometimes reach out to our buddies, the Cooligans, and
Oh, okay.
but we
That's
like to,
understandable.
we like to, hey, we like to keep our options open. It's the beautiful game. We talk it with all people.
Yeah, we had the Swees from MLS Aces, great podcast as well, man.
Yeah.
Listen, Trey, we're here. We're all about expanding the community. We want to show love to the whole
I love
entire
it.
MLS
I
community
love
because we're all one at the end of the day. Even though
Exactly.
obviously on Sunday we're rivals, right? But then after that final whistle, back to allies again, man. So, dude, Trey. So for obviously first time you've been on here, kind of just tell a little bit about yourself. Tell a little bit about the Blue Ball podcast. Obviously, like I said, fantastic title.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Well, the name kind of gives some of it away. We don't take ourselves too seriously. It was just me and my friend from high school. We've been buds forever, and NYCFC was starting. And he was like, this is a great way to get in on the ground floor. Let's be the first podcast. Blue City Radio beat us out by a week, but we were there the first week, and we've been podcasting ever since, man. And it's been crazy because it was just a way to hang out with my bud. And now, we're on season 8, and I've now had over 80 games I've been credentialed for. It's nothing that I would have expected. It's an amazing experience. And, by now we hope we know what we're talking about. We definitely didn't at the beginning, but it's been ups. There's been downs. There's been some big ups. And it's been a blast. We're definitely like a joke kind of. We don't take ourselves seriously, but we also, we get into the details and analytics and stuff like that too. So it's a great time. If you guys ever want to check us out, feel free.
Dude, it's sports. You can't take it too seriously all the time because, listen, I mean, we're Philly sports fans over here. We know not to take it too seriously because we'll drive ourselves crazy. And look, Mike, come on, man. Dude, he's such a nice guy. We don't have to kill him like that, bro. Come on. Trey, I promise you we won't rip your head off too much, man. But
I was going to make the joke. I was going to make the joke yesterday watching the Open Cup game. Who was the home team? Since both teams have played a home game there. What is it? I think they said they've played it. Because I was just listening to TSS earlier on my walk. They've played in 6 different home games this season. It's just like it's like the Harlem Globetrotters traveling from stadium to stadium. Putting up a home match.
Yeah, and we're just as good, and we beat teams, that are just as bad as the Generals.
So there you go. There you go, Trey. Give it to them, man. So, Trey, I mean, we do have to ask. We always usually ask when we have NYCFC correspondents on here. Any updates on the stadium?
We had some news drop. I also write for The Outfield, which is a great publication. And our homie Chris, who goes by Soup in NYC online, he is now known for his soup bombs. He does a great job getting inside information via FOIA releases and things like that. The biggest news, most recently, there's kind of 2 little tidbits. Firstly, that they've reignited their look at Harlem River Yards, which means nothing to you guys, of course, but it's
I know Harlem.
There you go. It's across the river in the Bronx from Harlem, south of where we play at Yankee Stadium sometimes. That seems to be the most promising for a permanent location, and it seems to be moving much faster than anything else they've had going on recently. Of course, nothing's official and things can change. And then the second thing is temporarily there may be some kind of setup on Randall's Island. You talk about adding another stadium into the mix because
I did hear about that. That was the curious one. I'm like, wait a minute, another one?
Yeah, the Red Bulls sound like they don't want us there anymore. So and things are just I think they want something. Yeah, obviously, I don't blame them. So I think they those are kind of the 2, like a more semi-permanent thing at Randall's Island that we may be able to use in other ways in the future. But Harlem River Yards, if something happens in the next year announced, it would be there. That's kind of the latest news. But it sucks, and everything sucks, and it sucks all the time.
I mean, obviously we joke about it, but like if we were in your shoes, we would feel the same way. Like that's just like not having a home. Like I know we make the banner jokes as well, but like the thing is, you're gonna have to transport that banner at some point as well. Let me ask you, Trey. So for you personally, what would you want if you had the option, like anywhere, like just forget permits, forget money, where would you want the stadium to be?
That's a great question. I've never been asked that before.
I'm putting they're asking you. I'm putting it in your hands.
I just moved to Brooklyn, and
Okay.
that's why it sounds like I'm in a hallway right now because I have no furniture. I look like a serial killer, just a plant. It's just look at this. It's just.
I was gonna say, yeah. I was like, it's wholesome as I, my hooks that I literally just hung today to put up some scarves.
I got nothing, man. I got a Napoli boot. There we go. There we go. That's about as far as I go for furniture. Yeah, I think so. So for me personally, like, yeah, anything by the river down here, I would go anything on the L train. Let's make it happen. I think outside of something that would be more realistic, like Queens would be great just because there's a lot of space and a lot of our fans live in Queens, like a surprising amount, even though we've played a majority of our games in the Bronx, which is literally an hour away. It's just in New York, time doesn't matter.
The subway system. I think the one time I came up for an NYCFC game in 2016, it was just like, I'm like, wait, I get off New Jersey Transit, and I'm like, okay, I go across the street. What train am I taking? Where and who? I'm like, thank God I had someone who works in the city help. I'm like, okay, good, because otherwise I'm like, I'd be on several trains and not even make it anywhere close.
It's so easy to get lost in the Bronx. It is so easy. It looks like we'll be there anyway, but I used to be able to walk to the stadium, which is nice. But if you wanted to have an ideal space, yeah, Queens is probably the most wide open. You can get the most fans. Anything along water, which looks like we're going to end up doing anyway, is ideal for me. And frankly, after 8 years, a stadium period sounds great. You can put on the moon. I don't know.
Staten Island. I don't know if anyone.
No one would go.
I have family that lives on Staten Island. I don't think anyone wants to be out there.
It's another country. In my
Fist pump to the stadium, bro.
or Long Island. I'm sure someone's cousin's Tony might give you some good deal and some good land out.
There we go. We can put like an elevated pool next to it too. Very Long Island. It'd be great.
Casino near it. Hey, listen, listen, you just gotta go. If you're gonna go Long Island, you gotta go full Long Island.
There you go. Well, let's get to the action on the pitch here. I think we need to start off with obviously the big news, the big change for you guys. Obviously, no more Ronnie Dyla for NYCFC, which obviously, look, he brought you guys something you probably never expected to get, which was the MLS Cup. And, he leaves with a great legacy behind. But, I mean, just talk about the impact of just losing Dyla, man.
It's tough. I think there's two ways. I think there's two conversations. The first is that if anything, Ronnie Dyla was kind of a hands-off coach. He left it to his coaching staff a lot of the time. It was a very egalitarian system. And I think we had a great, fantastic coaching staff surrounding him. So I think that's where a lot of the power came from. And he's just very much a leader of men, but will kind of, less is more. So moving on from a coach like that shouldn't be too difficult. He didn't transform the team in any way. The team is still City Football Group, and that's the ethos. But what you do lose is kind of the totem of like respect, the big, cold
leadership,
Norwegian leadership that he brought. He was the one who kind of had the fire, and we're a very young team, which I'm sure this will not be the first time I say that on this podcast. And having someone like instill that level of discipline was huge. So I think it's rough now, even as bad. And I've been hammering this and no one's talking about it. And I try to really emphasize it. And I think you saw the effects of it against Red Bull was we lost his assistant, which is Efrain Juarez, who played at Celtic, at I think Newcastle maybe, but he also played in MLS at Vancouver. And for the Mexican national team, he was the levity. He was the fire to the ice. He was Most importantly, the translator. Majority of our players don't speak English.
Very
They
true.
speak Spanish or Portuguese. So he had a very intimate connection with, that's funny, a very intimate connection with the players, very one-on-one. And the players had a lot of respect for him. Right now that Ronnie Dyla took Ephraim with him to Belgium, our translator on the pitch in the coaching staff is the equipment manager. And that's not a position you can be in when all your best players are 20-year-old millionaire South Americans who, like, any given day are like, no, I want to play Call of Duty. What am I doing here? You have like that level of discipline that Ronnie brought, and the effective translation and facility through Ephraim is missing now. Now, Nick Cushing, fantastic coach. He won multiple titles with the Man City women's team, and he's been coaching since 2006, men and women. And he's a great, very, very smart coach. And he follows a lot of.
I see.
Yeah, 100%. He's like super, in that lineage of like brainiac coaches, like wants to be the next Pep, whatever. But he needs the buy-in. Like, the players seem to be bought in, but it's still like any time there's a change, it's rough. So I would say you guys are meeting us at a pretty good time.
No, yeah, like I watched the game against Colorado, and it was like you could see something was just a little off, but not like crazy, but you're like, well, this team feels a little more disjointed. But did the Dylan news come out of nowhere? Because I mean, I thought I was pretty like, I usually keep up with a lot of those coaching hires, and this one, like maybe like 2 weeks before, was when like the bomb dropped of like, a team has reached out to NYCFC for a 7-figure sum to pry Dyla from NYCFC, and it was like, well, wait a minute, where did this come from? Like, we thought Tati leaving, but we're like, you're gonna lose your coach in the summer window too.
It was definitely out of nowhere. There was one report out of Belgium that he was one of the people they were looking at. You take that with a grain of salt. You never know. With these rumors flying around, it means nothing. Then 4 days before he left, a prominent Belgian reporter really put it out that, yeah, it's going to be Ronnie. An American investment firm bought Liège. They put in a CFG sporting director. So it all kind of made sense once all the chips were on the table. But what had happened was he had a 7-figure release clause, which I had never heard
for
of.
A coach? That's mental. Like Pep, Klopp, like you go like, look at like Ronnie Dyla does not cross that threshold. You would think of a 7-figure, release clause.
He had a release clause. I had never heard of it, but they met it, which made it up to him. It was no longer up to the team. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to go. He missed his family. He wanted to be kind of closer to Champions League football where he used to be with Celtic. So it happened very quickly because it had to, because they were, in the midst of their offseason and needed to make a change fast. So I'll break a little news for you guys because I didn't record a podcast this week, or so I have nowhere else to tell it. One of the players told me that they found out on Twitter that he was no longer the coach. And that seems pretty newsworthy. And Alex Callens, after the last game, told us that he was blindsided, that he did not expect. He thought Ronnie was happy, was his words.
Wow.
So
okay.
It was shocking. Now, just because it's shocking doesn't mean it's awful, because we signed the other assistant coaches to long-term deals. The players all know them. Nothing really changes outside of that. But you can't say it wasn't a surprise. It absolutely was.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. It's got me thinking, though. Do you think Jim's got a sell clause there, Justin?
I think listen. It's at this point, when they re-up the deal, it wasn't made to like, a cool 10 million or like, hey, like it's listen. He might go for more than Brendan with the way American coaches and players are at getting at a premium these days to Europe.
I'll say this: if Jesse Marsh succeeds at Leeds, I think there's going to be a call for some American coaches, but we'll see for sure. Mike's got a really good question I wanted to save here for you. Obviously, you played in U.S. Open Cup last night. So any players, what was the lineup and any players that could be missing that are key for Sunday?
That's great. We have always played with the same lineup ever since kind of the middle of last year. We realized that it worked, so we just kept with it. It's a 4-2-3-1. Tati always at the head of the spear, and then usually a double pivot of defensive midfielders with any two of the three that we normally use. I think the biggest things in terms of fatigue or anything like that to expect, Talish Magno, who I know is your worst enemy now.
I still go to bed thinking about that goal, man.
I hate to inform you, he's only gotten better. We rested him for a majority of the Red Bull match. Tate Castellanos played the whole thing, but he has lungs made of steel, so I don't think he'll be any more tired. Maxi Morales rested, he'll be okay. I would expect Santi Rodriguez and Tavon Gray to be a little more exhausted than usual, and they play on the same side of the field. So I expect Philly to know that, and I expect Philly to work up that side of the field, which they tried to do in the playoffs last year as well, and it worked. So I would expect that to happen again as well.
But hey, Thiago Andrade had some rest, with a nice early red card. I'm sure he's plenty rested.
You know what's funny? He's a bubble starting player, and he's very special talent. No one saw that coming, and I think he made the decision on his own that he is no longer a starting player on this team until he earns it again, because that was shocking, to say the least.
It's interesting because, and I'm even thinking about Sunday. Every time these two teams meet up, it really does not matter who's in the starting 11. It really does not matter about records. I mean, you look at the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, you saw what you were putting out there, and yet they gave you guys a match. And I really think that it's going to come down to that as well. It's going to be physical as well. I mean, I'm sure you remember in Yankee Stadium a couple months ago, Tati and Andre, and you had El Brujo getting into it, and that's just
hands on throats, a little Philly, little something.
And I think it's going to be the same thing on Sunday, guys. I think it's going to be that type of match. And look, that just helps this league. I mean, we need more of kind of rivalries brewing like the way NYCFC and Union have been brewing, and it's just a lot of fun to watch, and for me, Trey, I think the disdain starts with David Villa's half midfield goal.
Listen,
man.
I remember
pissed, man.
What a dagger, right?
I remember that moment.
Crazy.
I literally, as soon as that goal bounced in, I looked at Tim and I was just like, I'm out. Like that moment, I was just like, that was the fuck it moment. I'm like that, and that's like the difference between that union and this union. It's like we don't really have those kind of moments, those kind of heartbreaking moments, like that. That's a statement. That's the one that plays, ESPN highlights every so often. Like, thank God times have changed and the union and both teams have gotten a bit better.
Yeah, that's the only way to beat Andre Blake, really. It's just
yeah. The only way is having him off his line and blasting it 50 yards.
Yeah, and I think you guys are absolutely right. That was one thing I was going to say coming in is you saw what Red Bulls did to us last night, if you did see it, but you see how Philly plays us, and it's the only way to play against New York City FC. It's like you can't outskill NYCFC. They just are a very good team. So the only way to beat them is effort and with press. It's the one thing that has confused this team time and time again. Rebels just know how to do it so well. It's in their DNA. And I really like that Philly's really embracing that too. And the young kids you guys have just have so much energy and fire. It's like that's the way to do it is to bully the NYCFC players, push them around, because what they are young, flashy, confident players, the kinds of players you want if you want to play beautiful soccer. But like handling that kind of press and energy, especially losing your head coach, is you get results like you saw last night against Red Bull.
That is very, very true there, man. Justin, do you think that Mikel Uwa can play past 60 this match?
I think so. I think this game, again, yeah, he was fully rested coming off the international break. He only played around 15 to 20 against New England prior to the break. I think he could go. I feel like Jim doing that, like, it's kind of like, how, in 2020, like Brendan was kind of the scapegoat first sub and everything happened. It wasn't anything how he played. It was just when in doubt, like you're gonna sub off that kind of player. I think Uwa is just one coming back from the injury, but two, like Carranza is pacey, but he's the guy that's going to drop in, that's going to kind of combine. So he's not trying to stretch the field nearly as much. So you can ride him out a little longer. I think Uwa isn't on the speedster level of Sergio, but with a player like that, especially coming back from injury, you just want to be careful. So I could see him at least going 65, 70. I think you don't need him to go a full 90 with some of the options you have, and Carranza can play a full 90. So I'm not too concerned, but I definitely see him going past 60 on Sunday.
We shall see, man. I think it's definitely going to be big here. Trey, do you think any changes in the NYCFC lineup this on Sunday?
Well, one of the biggest ones is we signed a DP center back who got his ankle rolled up on last Sunday. He's most likely not going to play. Even so, we have Maxime Chanot, who is a fantastic center back. He was our best player in the cup for 90 minutes. And, I think one thing I like about Philly is when you think of the two best center back pairings, this is not the answer to your question, but whatever. When you think of the two best center back pairings and best goalkeepers in the league combined, those three players, you think Philly and you think NYCFC, and just pick a week depending on who's having a better game. Like it's two teams that are very hard to score against because of the players they have back there. So Chanot, we'll see if he's back. He almost went blind. He got an eye injury while he was playing for Luxembourg. Like, God, pull words out of a hat. But he's back finally. He'll have a big mask on like LeBron James. So we'll see.
Joel Embiid.
Oh, thank you. I'm actually
I had to do it.
big Joel Embiid fan over here, by the way.
Nice.
We'll see if he can. I think he looked okay for like 60 minutes last night. So we'll see if he can still hold up. That's probably what I'm most nervous about. And outside of that, lineup changes. It's going to be a choice in the midfield. Does the team want to be more offensive and play Keaton Parks moving forward, or are they going to make him pull back? Because the biggest confusion is we're between generations at the 10. We have Maxi Morales, who's like 30 whatever years old. He's super old, but he's still very, very good. And then you have Santi Rodriguez, who's in his early 20s and is also very, very good. But neither of them are very good anywhere outside of the middle of the pitch. And so it's hard because you want them both on the field, but when you do that, one of them is not going to be very good. I think that's just something to watch in terms of whether both of them will play or only one of them, or where they're going to be on the field and where Keaton Parks is. Because Keaton Parks is the glue that holds the whole thing together. He is the transition between defense and offense. And if I'm, El Brujo, I'm in the past, he would attack Maxi. I think getting some hands on Keaton is going to be the biggest thing, because Keaton can get the ball out so quickly, and he faster than almost anyone in the league. He can take a pass and give a pass. So you have to bully him, and no team has done it. No team has figured out Keaton Parks. They underestimate him. The whole league is. And I think you realize when you can push him to one side of the field or stop him from getting the ball, it changes things.
Yeah, you don't need to tell El Brujo to put hands on somebody. As I'm sure a few players are familiar with the infamous rock bottom elbow. Brujo ain't afraid to throw hands with anybody.
You got someone like that on your team.
The karate chop to Tati last year in Chester.
Oh my Lord! I still remember going to the bathroom when it was a yellow, coming back, and everyone groaning, and I'm like, "What?" Like it would change to a red. I'm like, "Wait, what?" And then I looked back at my phone and went, "Oh yeah, that's a red card." Oh boy.
I had Paul Katrina try to calm me down for that one, man. I was just like, "What are you doing, bro? Come on, man." Oh, that was a rough one there. But Justin, do you see any changes in our lineup?
I think for the most part, as we say, we joke every podcast. Andre Blake written in permanent marker, at this point etched in marble. That ain't changing anytime soon. The back four, until Kai leaves for Europe, whenever that happens, we don't know. I mean, Leeds seems to be the biggest rumor. That's what I've heard. So Who knows when that'll be? Again, basically, if you believe Tommy Bogues, Mr. Bogert, the mustachioed Woj, the Woj of the MLS, that might happen soon, but who knows? The only change I could maybe see, and I would have said initially, be like, oh, you could put Quinn or Jack or Paxton. I don't know how quickly they're getting back from the U20 stuff, so I don't think so. I don't necessarily see any changes. The midfield would be the only place where I see changes because your front three, I mean, Julian Carranza is arguably been one of your best players this whole season. Him and Gazdag have this connection, finally having a striker that he can connect with and drop in and get these passes. I mean, Carranza creates chances out of nowhere. And he not only can he, create the shots on himself, he loves to, get involved, and on Ali's goal, he wins the battle in the corner and throws it over to Ali. And it was, I mean, that was it. So I don't necessarily see any changes, but who knows? I mean, Jim, we talked about formation changes, but with this, I don't really see anything happening.
Just real quick to Mike's point, you imagine, like, let's just say hypothetically, Leeds gets into like the Champions League with the tri-state area.
Oh no, I was making an absolute joke with somebody, but I said just for the lulz, if Leeds just signs like every MLS player linked with the Premier League, and then they win the league or the FA Cup, and then that'll show that Major League Soccer is better than the Premier League, and I'll just be like, yeah, we won with a bunch of MLS players. So what's that to you? I would just for the shits and giggles.
Philly, Jersey, New York in Champions League, man. That's pretty good to me, man.
Sounds good to me.
Pretty cool stuff there. All right, well, it's that time of the show, guys. It is prediction time. All right, Trey, you are the guest. So as always, we allow the guests to go first. So what we want, Trey. So look, this is a Union podcast. So what we want is your prediction, but we want a key for the Union to beat NYCFC. What do they have to do to beat your squad?
Obviously NYCFC is in a weird place. They were one of the hottest teams in the league. So many shutouts until the Colorado game, and are missing a coach. So I'm not as optimistic as I would be. And also, as I mentioned before, Philly kind of has our number in terms of play style. So I would say, because I have to rep my team, I'll say like a 1-1 draw. I can't predict you guys will win, even if I might feel that way. So let's go there. And a key, outside of everything I said, I think it's having to, obviously, they'll get physical, push. I think if Philly is comfortable giving up some possession in order to keep, which sounds like that's a normal thing.
100%.
Yeah, but in order to pin back the wings, stop the overloads from happening on the wings for NYCFC, just kind of like stop. NYCFC is relentless, and they're gonna have their chances. It's more like break up the rhythm, like the Red Bulls did. It's just breaking up the rhythm, fouling, keeping the ball back, pressing as high as you can. All those things. Just breaking up the rhythm limits the amount of chances, because if you give NYC enough chances, they'll score. So yeah, but they will always get chances. So it's just limit that, and you'll be okay.
All right. Well, Justin, what do you got for us, man?
Everyone's been talking the Union are in a rut, and that and again, I said it earlier that changes could be coming in the summer, but you're also getting into the busy part of the season. As I said, you have, besides the game Sunday, you have a game on Wednesday, you have a game the following weekend, and so you're starting to really kind of pick up into the usual part of the schedule. And I think that's what it's going to help. And your next international break is not going to be until September. So you're going to have a number of minutes, going through. I can't think of a better birthday gift than a nice 2-1 Union victory, and I think Gazdag gets off the schneid after a few games of a couple games of not scoring. I think he breaks in, and just for good measure, I'm just gonna say there's gonna be a nice little scuffle around midfield between Brujo and Tati. Maybe Maxi will worm his way in there. Who knows? But it just for old time's sake, a little brouhaha.
I want the action in the tunnel, man. Give us some tunnel action, especially we're gonna be in the Rivers End, man.
No, it's not Josie against Red Bull post failure to qualify.
Oh my god. To Trey's point, Justin, how crazy will this fan base get if they tie again? We're talking 8 draws in the last 9.
I mean, it's a notable thing, but I still think people and I said this, people seem to think especially with FC Cincinnati, it's like it's not the same team. Going into the international break, drawing at New England, you were missing a lot of players. I think a lot of the ones in May, there were a few that were disappointing, but I think there's context for this. So yeah, I can understand frustration, but I just it's why this most of the time I've been trying to stay off a Twitter, just because no matter what, any soccer team's Twitter is just a collective hellhole of mostly negativity, and it's just this is not really doing anyone any good.
Really? No, never. Really?
Yeah, Philly, Negadelphia, shocking. I know it's a new concept, but it can be concerning, and I think that's why Jim even mentioned it after the game against FC Cincinnati, that they do need that person in the midfield to help break down, and it's obviously not a number 10 because Gozak has been I think the best number 10 that this team has had to date outside of Tranquillo Barnetta. They just need a Jamiro style, not someone who dribbles into 3 people and loses the ball, but that 8/10 who has the ability to get creative in the shuttler position.
That is some really good points that you absolutely bring up there, man. It should be a lot of fun. Trey, where are you watching the game on Sunday?
I just couldn't make it work out going to Philly. I would have loved to go. By the way, your guys' media staff is the nicest I've met. They did sit me in that playoff game in the middle of them, probably because of the name of my podcast. They didn't think I was a serious journalist or anything. And I understand that. I picked the name. But they were very nice, and even in defeat, it was a great experience. And I love the waterfront and blah blah blah, whatever. I love going down there. But I can't make it, so I'll be watching most likely right here in Brooklyn and at Banter, great soccer bar, and we'll, depending on how it goes, we'll see how drunk I get. But it should be a fun one. I forgot one other key to this match is you guys need to triple team Talish Magno. I hate to inform you, everyone is double teaming him this year, and it's still not working. So you're going to need a bigger boat, as they say.
Don't worry, he'll just mysteriously be missing for the game, just the game. He'll be back in New York Monday morning. Don't worry about it.
Nathan Harrell's matured now. He's a year older, so we have faith.
Pretty sure he cooked Mbaizo was the thing.
Yeah, that's the difference. Mbaizo sucks defensively. Nate will relish those one-on-ones, so I'm sure.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm actually really excited.
I think in the first match this year, he had the best opportunity, the first good opportunity in that match, if I'm not mistaken. And
I don't remember
that early one, but yeah,
I think it was a decent chance. I think that was like the best, one of the best chances in the first half that NYCFC had, and then the Union just locked it down, which is tough to say when at Yankee Stadium, where it's been a nightmare to play.
Yeah, the only saving grace is much like Ben Simmons. He can't finish like at the rim. Like,
Hey now.
love that. Which
doesn't have that finishing touch.
Hope you love that problem.
Now he's our problem. I know.
Yeah, now he's your problem. Now, good with that.
Oh man. Another topic for another podcast. But Trey, listen, we really appreciate you coming on here, man. It was a lot of fun, dude. You said with your podcast, you don't take yourself too seriously, but we like that because it's important to have a sense of humor, especially with some of the teams we both support. But Trey, I want people to check out the Blue Balls podcast. So where can people find your work? Anything plugged in with NYCFC, man?
You can find us at Blue Balls Pod on Twitter. That's our main place. I got a little emotional last night during the Red Bulls game, so forgive me. I'm not usually that sensitive, but I think we're a good follow nonetheless. And check out the podcast. We'll probably record one after the game, and we also just did one all about the Ronnie Dyla move and what it means. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, Trey, everyone knows around here I get pretty damn emotional for the Philadelphia Union as well. So no, I completely understand what you're talking about, man.
Yeah, I have to be the logical center of the group, which is not my strong suit.
It's hard to be funny and care a lot. That's the problem. It's like we try to be funny, and then once you start caring, the jokes go out the window. It's not good.
Yeah. Sarcasm doesn't always. I'm too sarcastic for my own good, so it doesn't always translate when I'm trying to be joking and people take me seriously. And I get a lot of people in my mentions being very angry with me, and like it's just like
I feel that
you just gotta roll with it. Can't take yourself too seriously. That's never any fun.
I got to throw you guys a follow too. I have a personal Twitter, but it's boring. I don't do anything. So I tweet all the time from Blue.
I was gonna say I'm not much of a. I retweets and quote tweet stuff. So that's the extent of what I do.
Definitely, and we'll definitely meet up for either in wherever in New York, whatever in the boroughs, or here in Chester, man. We'll definitely meet up, Trey. So
anytime, man. Yeah, totally. I really appreciate you guys having me on. You guys seem chill as hell. Gonna throw you guys a follow. Can't hang this weekend, but whenever you're up in New York, give a shout out.
Justin, you hear that? He said we're chill. Let's go.
Totally.
To appreciate that, Trey. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of DOOP by River. Seriously, thank you to Trey, and thank you guys for tuning on in. Make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe. We do record all these live viewings here on this YouTube channel. And, of course, you can find us wherever you stream podcasts. Find us under DOOP by the River, the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Trey Fillmore. That is Justin, Reserve, River, and Keeper Friedberg. Of course, I go by the name of Parcero Philly, and we're telling you guys to DOOP on. Talk to you guys.